Welcome back everyone to another episode of The Road Chose Me. My name's Dan and today we're in the tiny town of Arthur River and we're going to drive the Sandy Cape track. So this is one of Tasmania's famous four-wheel drive tracks and I'll show you where it is. We've finished the southern western wilderness, we've come up through the road to nowhere and we're kind of about here somewhere on the west coast. This is where the waves are insane. This track has a bunch of beach driving. It has some inland rocky sections. I'm told I really have to watch out for quicksand, for deep water, lots of stuff coming up. Here it is, the Sandy Cape track in Tasmania. So here we are, you saw we just drove down the stunning beach. It was absolutely beautiful. And then we've just come along, we had to come inland a bit on kind of a regular road. And now we're back on the track. We're just south of the little town of Tema. And so the track is beginning again. Katie's up there just getting lunch ready. And I thought I'd show you guys another great Australian saying or slang. You can see there's a sign here on the side of the track. It says, "Dob in a hoon." And so Katie immediately says, what does that even mean? How is that even English? And so I guess it means there's two parts to it. And the first part is dob in, basically is like, you know, go and tell the police or go and like tattletale or whatever expression you want to use to be like, tell the authorities about someone. Basically go and, report someone to the police for having done something that they shouldn't be doing. So that's what dob in means. And Australia has a really strong culture of that actually, of like, if you see someone doing something wrong, call the police. Like, yeah, go and get someone else in trouble for doing something wrong, which here in Australia, I think is a pretty common thing to do. I know certainly in the US, that's not going to go down very well. Lots of people aren't going to like that. And then the second part of the sign, obviously, dob in a hoon. So what is a hoon? Well, a hoon is just a funny expression in Australia. It means someone who's driving their vehicle, well, illegally, dangerously, fast, spinning the tires, maybe doing donuts. Hooning around is quite an expression in Australia. It means, yeah, driving around aggressively and dangerously and breaking the law really. So that sign, dob in a hoon, means notify the police or notify the authorities when you see someone driving dangerously or you see someone breaking the law. That way the police can come and give them a ticket or arrest them or whatever. And yeah, Australia has quite a strong culture of that, which I'd forgotten about, but it is a common thing here. And then there's another funny sign up here I thought I'd show you as well. This big bright red one just past Katie. It says, the tracks south of Sea Devil Rivulet are closed to all vehicles. And so I'll walk up there and I'll show you that word, rivulet. It's a word I've never heard before in my whole life. And apparently it's a Tasmanian thing. And I haven't fully figured it out. I think it kind of means creek, or it means like small river. Because they still use the word river for the big ones, like the Derwent River is the massive one that the city of Hobart is on. But when it's a smaller, they would never call it Sea Devil Creek. They call it Sea Devil Rivulet. So just another Tasmanian oddity or quirk. It's nice, I like it, it's a fun word. So a couple of little bits of Australian culture there before we get back on the trail. We're gonna eat some lunch and onwards and onwards. Let's see how this track develops. So as you've seen, we've been inland for quite a while. The track's been amazing. This is really beautiful, and now we've popped out at the beach. And what we've arrived at here, they call this Brook Creek crossing. And when we bought our permit, they warned us about this, and they said, make sure you give it a good look before you decide to drive across. So I guess in previous years, the water was really, really low, and the main way to go was kind of over there where we can see tire tracks. But they said in recent years, this has gotten dammed up. And so for whatever reason, there's now a big pond here. And you can see this thing's pretty big. The ocean's way over there. So I'm just gonna walk in a bit and see how deep it gets. Already I can't see the bottom, and it's sandy on the bottom, which I don't really like. I'm at my knees now. I'm gonna say if I go any deeper, I'm gonna have to put my swimming shorts on. But to me already, this doesn't really seem like the greatest idea to do as a solo vehicle. So I might walk around a little bit, see if I can find a different angle of attack or a different spot to attempt it. But I'll get back to you when we figure out what we're gonna do next. Maybe this will be the end of the road for us. Here we are, guys. This is Sandy Cape Beach, and tell you what, this is absolutely stunning. I can't believe how beautiful this is. The beach goes all the way down there, way past those dunes. It's actually a really long drive to keep going. And when we got our permit, the ranger really warned us, these river crossings are actually unbelievably sketchy. And they had a whole wall of vehicles that have been stuck and stranded and abandoned because they get stuck. And so you can see there were some locals we just talked to. They just went in front of us, and you can see he drove way down actually in the water and basically just covered his vehicle in salt water, which I'm not too excited about. But the reason he did that is because up here where I am, near the actual river water, Tasmania is famous for this, it actually can be quicksand. So what I'm walking on right now is really famous for vehicles just sinking straight down to their frame, and you'll never get them out again. And so he said, actually, that guy just said this is probably the worst one right now. That's why he went so low. But I mean, he just drove with his foot to the floor, which is usually not my style. So we're just trying to evaluate, does it make sense to keep going and try and cross all of these rivers? I mean, those dunes, look at that with the sun on them. They are stunning. I don't know, we haven't decided what we're gonna do just yet, but right now we're in like moonscape paradise. It is beautiful. So we're gonna have a good look around and explore, take a bunch of photos, maybe find some camping and maybe reevaluate in the morning, see what we think. So we had a really good look at it, and it did look like the tide was coming in, not going out as we needed it to be. So at least for today, we've decided to come back. We're about 100 yards back before the beach, and we're gonna camp here in this stunning spot. You can see how beautiful this is. We've got everything we need right here, which is nothing more than beautiful grass. But check this out, something that's happening a lot in Tasmania, especially when we're near fresh water. And I'm really happy right now they seem attracted to the side steps on the Jeep instead of attracted to me. Every single one of these guys are what I call a march fly. I think most of you guys in the US would call this a horse fly. And I don't know why, they're loving that textured black surface. And it's funny because the tsetse flies in Zambia did exactly the same thing, but they've been biting me something chronic while I've been filming and photographing today. I have all these like red welts, especially on my ankles, they really go for. Have to remind myself though, they don't have malaria, so I have to be happy with that and, you know, I'll tolerate it. So we're gonna camp here for the night. We'll cook some dinner soon, and we might drive back down to the beach at sunset, see if we can get some beautiful photos down there, even just go for a walk, see what it looks like. So Sandy Cape Track, Tasmania, this is simply stunning. Here we go, guys. Best part of the day. Dinner is ready. So we've just whipped it up here on the stove. So we've got some lamb and rosemary sausages, steamed cauliflower with cheese, and then we made up some mashed potato. And it's kind of the first time we've tried to do that. So I just used a fork and kind of smashed it in the bowl. There's milk in there, cheese, pepper, a little bit of salt. So they're kind of creamy. And Katie loves garnish. So she is currently putting on some green onions, which is a must-have in our fridge at all times. We always have green onions. So really loving the kitchen setup, really loving the 2-burner stove. You know, being able to boil water for mashed potatoes and cook the sausages at the same time. That's a game changer. And yeah, plenty of space here, you know, the bench, the whole storage. You can see we put stuff up top, we put stuff down the bottom. We even saved our water that we're gonna use for dishes. So dinner time right on the beach. The ocean is getting even wilder, believe it or not. And we're just waiting to see if sunset's gonna kick off or if these clouds are gonna kind of hold things as they are. But definitely time to chow down right now. Good morning, everyone, and what a stunning morning it is. The forecast was that it's gonna be hot and sunny today, and Tasmania delivers. The sun on my face right now is already stinging. I feel like I'm getting sunburnt. I need to put on sunscreen, even though I just got out of bed. And so I've got breakfast on the go here. We've got coffee and tea. We've got some eggs. I have my standard egg wraps, lettuce, tomato, mustard. Pretty excited about all of that. And so I'm just trying to decide if we're going to go down and drive the beach all the way down to Sandy Cape. I'm so on the fence about doing it as a single vehicle. Everyone told me not to. Everyone told me the dangers are just too real. And you know, playing with the waves is not something that I enjoy doing. The challenge is there's nothing to winch off of. That's the really hard part. So with multiple vehicles, obviously you can recover each other. But as a solo vehicle and nothing to winch from, I mean, if we do tackle it, I'll lower the tire pressures even more and I'll get the recovery boards at the ready so that they're super easy to get out. And it'll just be a matter of going for it. But I think I'm gonna sit and eat some food and have a hot drink and then decide what I'm gonna do. In the meantime, I'm just gonna enjoy the view. A couple of wallabies are hopping around. Definitely looks like paradise to me. Okay everyone, so as you can see, we've decided to turn back. We are not going to mess with Sandy Cape Beach. And this is a hard one for me. I have to admit, I feel like I have buck fever a little bit, where, you know, we've come this far and everything's gone well. And so I'm sort of wanting to push on and keep going. And, you know, the Jeep is really capable. I feel pretty confident the Jeep would make it. But it's one of those scenarios where, you know, everything's fine right up until the minute that it isn't. and you just don't know when it's going to happen. And even talking to locals, they were saying, oh look, you can have a really easy drive on the way there, no problem, but then the tide shifts those river crossings, the quicksand changes, and on the way back you'll have to go through 2 meters of water or down into the salt water or through the quicksand. And so quite a few locals said, do not tackle it as a solo vehicle, it just isn't worth it. And you know, that's where I struggle. That's where I kind of am tempted to be like, you know, oh, I drove around Africa mostly as a solo vehicle, you know, let's do it. But that's where I guess the downside of traveling as a solo vehicle really comes in. And if you had more vehicles, you know, you'd feel more confident to kind of push further and get more remote. And that's what I did in the Congo when I was with my German friends, Danny and Didi. And hopefully I'm going to do that here in Australia as well, you know, find random people to team up with, or maybe even my uncle and my cousin will come along for some of the more fun four-wheel drivey bits. So yeah, it's hard for me to turn back. I feel, you know, a little bit of disappointment. I feel like I'm letting myself down. But at the same time, I have to remember there is a huge amount of adventures to go here in Australia, really still just getting underway. And to lose the Jeep in the beach waves like that, they would just be an utter disaster. And it's a different kind of four-wheel driving, kind of that I'm used to or that I have a lot of practice in, because I feel like normally when I'm four-wheel driving, if I get to something that I really don't like the looks of, I get out, I have a really good look at it, I think about it, check out what line other people have taken, and usually for the most part, you can have a go at something, and if you don't like how it's going, you can always just back off again and go around or turn back. But I feel like with the beach waves like that, you don't really have an opportunity to stop and scout because the waves and the tide are coming. And if something goes wrong, you can't just sort of sit for an hour or 3 and like use the shovel or use the recovery boards or whatever to get yourself out because the waves are coming. And the locals I spoke to said you'll probably just have a matter of minutes before you get inundated by a wave, and then that's it, it's all over. And so to me, that's just a whole new level of like commitment and elevates the consequences if something goes wrong. Because normally I've always said, you know, if I really get stuck in the mud, I mean, my vehicles are my houses, I will stay for a week if I have to, using the shovel, using the recovery boards, using the winch if I can. Even if it takes me a whole week, I've got food, I've got water, I've got shelter. That's kind of my life at that point. That's fine when you're out, you know, somewhere in a big muddy field or on the side of a mountain or something. But if you've got beach waves that are going to swamp the whole vehicle, that's pretty committing, and I don't know how I feel about that. So ideally, you know, you have 2 or 3 vehicles and you drive as a convoy, maybe even you have recovery straps between each vehicle so that if anyone has any trouble, it's easy enough just for the whole convoy to kind of help each other out as you're moving. So in the future, you know, ideally that's what I would do to tackle something like that. But there we go, that has been, well, 75% of the Sandy Cape track. Absolutely stunning there when we got to the beach. That river crossing, definitely the deepest one I've done in this Jeep, so good to get some practice at that. Hope you've enjoyed the video, hope you've enjoyed the stunning scenery. This is just blowing my mind, the diversity that Tasmania has. And if you have enjoyed the video, do hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. There are just so many more adventures to come. Katie and I had the map book out last night, really excited for everything that's coming. And if you'd like to camp where I am, if you'd like to see the places that I'm getting to, check out over on Patreon. I'm supplying my GPS track logs of everywhere that I'm driving, and I'm adding all of my campsites from the entire trip. So all the wild places I get to, I'm putting in with a little bit of info about, you know, whether it was free, whether it was wild, what the view was like, all that kind of stuff. So that's over on Patreon, check it out. I'll put a link down in the description. And so, until next time, have fun out there, and maybe I'll bump into you on the road. All right guys, so here we are. This is the river crossing on the way back. For the record, this is low range, just in drive, both diff locks are on, and I've got the sway bar disconnected. And so this is deep enough to make me like really think about it. Katie and I just walked across and I set her up with the camera. But the start from this side, it's not very deep. This is no problem. It's gonna drop off here in a second. I'm gonna go a little faster than I did last time. Still no problem at all, top of the tires. Now we're at the bottom of the bumper, got a bit of a bow wave going. And now we're near the top of the bumper. Straighten up a bit, the deep spot now, and now we're climbing out. Yeah, slow and steady wins the race. I definitely gets my heart going a little bit. But great success, and last time there wasn't even a drop of water inside the tub or the cabin or anything, so I'm sure it'll be the same this time.